You close your eyes tonight, but nothing happens. No drowsiness, no drift into darkness. Hour 1 passes, then hour 6, then hour 24, and your eyes are still open. You haven't slept. You won't sleep again. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not ever. For your entire life, sleep felt automatic, something your body simply handled without asking permission. Now it's gone, and you're about to find out exactly how much it was quietly holding together. For decades, doctors treated sleep as downtime, a pause button for an exhausted brain to recharge before the next day. They were wrong. Sleep isn't rest. It's maintenance. Active, essential, non-negotiable maintenance. And without it, your body doesn't slow down gracefully. It starts to fail piece by piece, faster than almost anything else you could lose. In 1964, a 17-year-old named Randy Gardner decided to break the world record for staying awake. He lasted 11 days. Sleep researcher William Dement, then at Stanford University, monitored him around the clock, and what he documented became one of the most cited case studies in sleep science. By day 3, Gardner couldn't focus his eyes on a single point. By day 5, he was hallucinating, mistaking a street sign for a person standing in the road. By day 9, his hands trembled so badly he couldn't hold a pencil steady. He survived. He recovered. Most bodies pushed this far do not get that chance. Animals pushed further didn't survive at all. In the 1980s, sleep researcher Alan Rechtschaffen at the University of Chicago ran a series of studies that kept rats from sleeping for extended stretches using a slowly rotating platform above water. The rats didn't starve. They were fed normally, kept warm, given everything except sleep. Within roughly 3 weeks, every single one of them died. Their bodies lost the ability to regulate temperature. Their immune systems collapsed entirely, even though nothing else about their environment had changed. Sleep, it turned out, wasn't a luxury layered on top of survival. It was a precondition for it. So what actually happens inside you when sleep disappears completely? Let's simulate it, hour by hour, the way it would unfold in your own body. The first 24 hours feel almost ordinary. You're irritable, a little slower than usual, nothing alarming. But your reaction time has already dropped by roughly the same margin as having a couple of alcoholic drinks, a comparison drawn directly from research published in the journal Occupational and Environmental Medicine. Your judgment is worse than you think it is. You just can't tell, because the part of your brain responsible for noticing your own decline is the same part that's failing first. By hour 36, your immune system starts retreating. Inflammatory markers in your blood spike, your body sensing a crisis it doesn't fully understand. It starts treating wakefulness itself like a threat, the way it might treat an infection. By hour 48, microsleeps begin. These are involuntary lapses lasting only a few seconds, moments where your brain forces a shutdown whether you allow it or not. You might be standing, talking, even walking, and for 2 or 3 seconds, you simply aren't there. Have you ever blanked out mid-sentence, lost your train of thought for no reason? That's a micro-sleep trying to happen. Now imagine dozens of them stacking up, uncontrollable, arriving without warning while you're crossing a street or holding a knife. By hour 72, the hallucinations Gardner experienced become almost universal. Shadows move at the edges of your vision. Walls seem to breathe. Time stretches and compresses unpredictably, a minute feeling like an hour disappearing in a blink. This isn't your imagination running wild for no reason. It's your brain's default mode network, the system normally responsible for daydreaming and quiet internal reflection, firing without the usual checks that keep it tethered to reality. There's something else missing during all of this, something you'd never think to miss until it's gone. You haven't dreamed once. REM sleep, the stage where most vivid dreaming happens, is also when your brain consolidates memory, sorting the day's experiences into what's worth keeping and what gets quietly discarded. Without it, new information stops sticking. You could read the same sentence 5 times tonight and forget it by morning, not because you weren't paying attention, but because the filing system itself has shut down. Here's the counterintuitive part. You'd assume exhaustion itself is what eventually kills a person, the body simply running out of fuel like a car out of gas. It isn't. The deeper danger isn't the tiredness. It's what's accumulating inside your skull the entire time you're awake. Neuroscientist Maiken Nedergaard at the University of Rochester discovered a cleaning system inside your brain called the glymphatic system. Think of it as your brain's plumbing, a network of channels that flushes out metabolic waste built up over a day of thinking, including a protein called beta amyloid, the same protein linked to Alzheimer's disease. This system runs almost exclusively during deep sleep, when your brain cells shrink slightly to widen the channels waste flows through. Without sleep, the plumbing never opens. The waste doesn't get cleared. It just accumulates day after day with nowhere to go. There's a real devastating disease that shows exactly where this leads. It's called fatal familial insomnia, an extraordinarily rare genetic condition first documented by researchers in Italy in the 1980s. A misfolded protein gradually destroys a tiny region of the brain called the thalamus, the structure that regulates sleep itself. Patients stop sleeping entirely, permanently, and within months their bodies deteriorate beyond recovery. The disease moves through 4 stages, starting with mild insomnia and panic attacks, then progressing to hallucinations and rapid weight loss, then a total inability to sleep at all paired with dementia-like symptoms, and finally a state of complete unresponsiveness before the body gives out. It isn't exhaustion that ends them. It's the slow poisoning of a brain that can no longer take out its own trash. So picture your own brain doing a small version of this right now, tonight, as you sit here. Picture the waste quietly building up behind your eyes, unflushed, settling into folds and crevices you'll never consciously feel. Unsettling, isn't it? Knowing the cleanup crew only shows up while you're unconscious? Let's reconstruct the full timeline once more, start to finish. Day 1, irritable, slightly impaired, convinced you're fine. Day 3, vision swimming, concentration gone, the first hallucinations creeping in at the edges. Day 5, the body fighting itself, blood pressure spiking, hands shaking, the mind fracturing from reality in short, unpredictable bursts. Day 9, tremors, paranoia, a person who looks like themselves but is running on a brain that's stopped clearing its own waste for over 200 hours. Somewhere past this point, in cases like fatal familial insomnia, where there is no recovery built in, the body simply cannot sustain itself any longer. Here's the mirror back to your actual life, because you don't need 11 sleepless days to feel a smaller version of this. A single night of 4 hours of sleep measurably impairs your brain's waste clearance the following day, based on imaging research summarized in the journal Nature Reviews Neuroscience. Multiply that by a week of late nights, stress, and scrolling instead of sleeping, and you're running a quieter, slower version of exactly the breakdown described here. That foggy thinking after a rough night, the irritability, the inability to find the right word, that's not weakness, that's chemistry. That's unflushed waste, dimming the signal in real time, the same mechanism at a smaller scale. Think about the last time you pulled an all-nighter for an exam, a deadline, a newborn who wouldn't settle. Did the next day feel sharp, or did it feel like wading through fog with your hands? That fog is real, measurable, and it's the exact same biological process unfolding at a fraction of the intensity. You weren't imagining it. Your brain's plumbing simply hadn't had its nightly chance to open. Sleep researcher in University of California, Berkeley professor Matthew Walker has spent his career making one point clear. There is no organ in your body and no process in your mind that functions better without sleep. Not memory, not mood, not immune defense, not the ability to regulate your own emotions. Sleep touches every single one of them, every single night, whether you notice it or not. So sleep was never the boring part of your day, the dead time between the parts that mattered. It's the maintenance crew, working quietly in the dark, keeping the machine you live inside from slowly poisoning itself from the inside out. It's the only process in your entire body that simultaneously repairs memory, resets emotion, restocks immunity, and flushes out the exact waste that, left alone, would eventually break you the way it broke Randy Gardner, the way it killed Rechtschaffen's rats, the way it ends the lives of people with fatal familial insomnia. Tonight, you'll close your eyes again, and this time, something will happen. Your brain's plumbing will open, the waste will clear, and the nothing you'll feel while it happens will turn out to be everything your body needed all along.